Hey, how's it going? This is Roy from RateMyFuneral.com. That was rate, by the way. Right, it's Christmas time. Yes, this time of year I like to do something a little bit festive. Not hugely, but a little. Which is what I think I found here. We're going to create a very, very simple Christmas log cabin kind of scene. And I like the idea that you go away with it and you do what you want with it and make it look different and interesting and do something with it. So I set up the basics, you go on and do something interesting with it. Does that make sense? Cool. Just as an example, I thought this might look quite good as a time lapse going from day to night. So I made this just by animating the position of the lighting and the night and dark and all of that malarkey. So I thought that looked pretty groovy. So let's hop on in and see where we're going to start. I don't know what's going on with my hands today. I seem to have a problem with flappy hand maneuvers today. I don't know what that is. Let's make a new scene and we're going to start from scratch so that we know exactly where we're doing this. Okay, so it's a log cabin, so quite straightforward start. We need some logs. Now, obviously, the best way to create a log will be, or a log cabin, will be to create each log individually and, you know, model each log with a bit of love and attention. However, sometimes you just don't have the time, so we're going to do it a little quicker. We're going to use cloners. Oh, I went all Chris Schmidt just then, a cloner. Sorry. Now, what we're going to do is take one of these splines and we're going to put it up there. That's wonderful. Hang on, I went into Crichton then. Right, okay, I don't know who I am or what I'm doing. This is one of those days where half of this I will probably cut out. Right, there's our log. Let's start with that. That's about right. I'm going to put on Gurad shading with lines so we can see, because one of the things I don't want is too much geometry because we're going to end up with quite a lot bit later. So I'm going to drop the rotation segments for the logs right down somewhere about there. 16 would probably be fine. So this is going to be the side wall. So let's grab that cylinder. We're going to go to MoGraph, hold down Alt, select cloner, and that puts it into a cloner, which means that we can just really quickly add a bunch more. I don't know how many we want to go up to yet, so I'm going to hazard a guess at about 12. Then I'm going to pull all these down in the step to about there, and then that's going to be our side wall for our cabin. Now, something I do want to do here is I want to step it because there's going to be a roof. Let's just grab our original image again, which I've lost. It's opened up over here now. There it goes. Right. So yeah. So what we want to do is we want our roof to kind of come up there. Okay. So cloner. Let's use effector. And we'll use step. Perfect. No, it isn't. Okay, so what we want to do there is change it from uniform scale. And I think it's going to probably be this one. So scale X, and we're going to just put that in up the top. Now what we don't want is it coming from all the way from the bottom. I said bottom. So we're just going to grab this little dot here and move that along. Something like that, and that's not too bad. We're just going to grab that and let's just make it a little bit more even, and we'll do the same with that one so that it, there we go. So that's about right. So there's our side wall. Now we're going to want two of those, so the best way we're going to do this is put the cloner into a symmetry object. So hold down Alt, that's now into a symmetry object. If you grab the cloner and move it across, now what you'll notice is it's just moved along, but this is because the symmetry object's mirror plane is wrong. So we need to set that, I think it's XY, there we go, and then that allows us to move this cloner and get further away or closer together. Now if we move the symmetry object, it moves everything as a whole. Sorry, I need to stop this. Right, so now so there's our log cabin sidewalls. Brilliant. Okay, so let's start naming stuff, otherwise we're going to get confused. So we're going to say side walls. Let's go side logs, actually. Log. Right, step, and we'll call this side step. Hey. Right, cloner. Copy. There we go. Hold down Control and click and drag it, and you'll make a copy. Now this cloner, I want to change. Let's go to the cylinders and change them to Z+. That then puts it on its side. And also, I'm going to PSR the cloner. Bang! There we go. So that's put that dead in the center for us, which makes things nice and easy to calculate. If you don't have a PSR button, I've told you this in numerous of my tutorials, which I'm assuming you've seen before. If you're a new person to my tutorials, then you may not have seen this, and if you haven't, this is just for you. Right click up here, go customize palettes, type in here PSR, and there you have your position, size and rotation, and you just literally drag that up to there, and it adds that button there, and basically that will zero out all the coordinates to the center of said area. So there you go. Right, now the cylinders, we need to stretch these out. So rotation, no, height, yes. So we're going to make those in. Now one thing you may notice if you look closely, something quite odd has happened to our logs, and that's they're being squashed, and that's because it is being affected by our side step, which we don't want. So we're just going to go into effectors and remove side step. There we go. Okay, so cylinder, we'll carry on, we'll make this height a bit bigger. I want them to just poke through. Something like that, along those lines. Perfect. Okay, now I'm not going to do this one using a symmetry object because of the fact that I want the back to be different to the front, so we're just going to call this one back log. And I'm going to go into the side view, zoom in a little bit here, and just move this over to around about there, I would guess. Now we do want ourselves another step, but for the back one. So we're going to go MoGraph effector step. Let's put that with this one, and we're going to call this back step. That's not funny. And once again, uniform scale, and it's not the no. Oh, sorry, I'm getting confused. Hang on. Not scale, position. That's the one. Okay, so we want to step the position. Obviously not on the Y, clearly on the X, right? Okay, so let's move this over until this one is about in the right place. Okay, perfect. And now this is the same thing as before, where basically it's this. Yes, I know what I'm trying to say. So what we do is we move this dot over until I'm pointing to the screen. Why on earth would I point to the screen? Basically this one needs to be about straight, so we move that until that one's about straight. There we go. And then we grab that and we do kind of straightness, and we grab that one and we do kind of straightness, and just get that so it's about right there. Perfect, there we go. So now when we have a look at our log cabin from the side here, it's looking pretty groovy because we've got our shape going on, which is pretty much just what we want. Okay, now we want one for the front, so what I'm going to do is just copy this one and paste it. We go in, once again, we'll rename it to front logs. And go to the effectors and remove the back step from it. We will make a copy of the back step and put that just above it, and we'll call it front step. And we're going to move the logs. Let's just hop into this view here and do to about the same, which will be about there. And our front step, which is currently not affecting our front logs. So if we go to front logs, effectors, and then just drag the step into there, bang. Now obviously that's going in the wrong direction, but we just go to the X and make it minus, bang, that's now correct. Yay, we have ourselves a rudimentary log cabin that you can't get in or out of. Perfect. Okay. So next, we want to make it so that you can get in or out of. So we're just going to tidy up all of this stuff here. I'm going to create a cube like so. There is once again there's a number of ways to do this. This is the way I'm going to do it because it's quickest. And that's for when you're doing a tutorial, that's what's important. You need to be done quickly, otherwise people complain at you that you're taking too long teaching them for free. But anyway, let's... I'm in one of those moods today. I'm actually thinking that this cabin's a bit too long. Oh, I went all teen just then. I'm like, totes, not even joking, that's too long. So let's, front legs, back legs. So let's grab these two cylinders and we'll do some real-time adjustments and shrink those right into about there. Because I want it to look stumpy. That's the whole point of a log cabin, is it should look small and stumpy, probably. Cloner. Remember, we grab this one, not the actual symmetry object, the cloner, and then that will move the other one in at the same time. See, it's clever. Okay, right, that looks a bit better. So our cube, which is going to be our front door, we can sit around about there, probably a little bit thinner, maybe a little bit fatter. There we go. Marvellous. And we're going to make a copy of that cube, and I'm going to put that here and move that up. I want it to be something like, I don't know, I'm looking at 3 logs. Let's do this in the front view, it's going to be a lot easier to see. I want it about the same height as the door, but I want it to end on a log. I'm trying to make these so that they end on logs, otherwise you end up with logs cut in half, and that kind of looks a bit strange. Right, there. And we'll make the window a little bit wider. Beautiful. Okay, so there we go. So these are going to become our windows. That I can see just needs to come up just a touch. Right, perfect. Let's just tweak that and get that just right. Grab these two, press Alt G, put them into a null object, and we're going to rename that to cutouts. Now, have you guessed what we're going to do yet? We are going to put the cutouts into a bool object. There we go. And then we're going to put the front logs into the bool object. And bang, there you go. Now, one thing that we do end up with is let me say that again. One thing we one thing we do end up with is holes in our logs. They are hollow. We don't want hollow logs. So what we want to do is go to the bool and untick high quality. And while it's not such high quality, it does at least cap those logs for us, which is what we want. So that's great. And I'm just looking at that. I'm not liking the way these are intersecting quite as much as they are. So I might just go to every cloner object and just put them up at 1. There we go. Perfect. There. That wasn't too sad. Right. Cool. However, our cutouts need to be slightly adjusted. So we'll just grab them and just move them up. And just want to make them sit up. Oh, didn't mean to do that, did I? Let me undo that. I've got to do them one at a time because they have different heights. There we go. That's what I was hoping to achieve. We'll get the other one. In case you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just getting rid of that edge there so it sits a bit neatler. Right. It's not even that early today. It's like 11:30 and my head is messed up. I'm all over the place. But we're having fun. And that's all that matters. Right, okay, so we have our log cabin with gaps and holes in it. Beautiful. Right, so let's rename that one to front log so that we can keep up with it. And we'll put that back down the bottom. Right, let's tidy. Okay, one of the things, this is probably what I found the most difficult to work out the best method to do, which is creating the snowy roof. And one of the ways, I went through a few different ways, and the best way I found was to literally just drape the snow straight over it. But what I did forget to do in my original picture, let's just use this one. Right, is that I forgot to actually put a square roof. Now, I don't know whether that works or not. I think that's kind of alright, because snow does clump together like that. But for the sake of ness, I'm just going to stick a couple of planes on there to act as a roof. So actually I'm going to do it with the cube. So we're going to want sideness. And let's see, best way to do this, because now I'm doing this on the fly, no preparation or anything. So we rotate, it's got to be 45 degrees, isn't it? There we go. Let's put that. Oh, see, it wasn't quite. Look. Oh man. There we go. That's the kitty. Right. Doesn't matter if stuff's intersecting just a little. It doesn't matter because we're not going to see that under the snow anyway. Okay. Perfect. Now, I want a second one of those in exactly the same position but off to the side. So what I'll do is I'll create a symmetry. I'm not holding Alt this time so that the symmetry is dead center, and then I put that cube in the symmetry and bang, look, it just does it all for me. Perfect. Okay. So is it a little long? It could be a little long. Cube. Let's just make it a little bit shorter so it's not overhanging too much, because we want the snow to overhang. Okay, that will do. That will do. We could maybe put one up the top as well, just for a neatness. We'll just bung that in there. There we go. Right, we'll make it the right length. Cool. Okay, so we've made our roof. Brilliant. Okay, so what is next? We have our log cabin, we have our roof on it. I'm still thinking it's maybe the roof's a little bit long there, so let's just bring that in just a touch more. Actually, we could just move that up a little bit now, couldn't we? Maybe a bit of both. Bring it in just a touch more, just a tiny amount, and we'll just adjust that just a tiny amount, and then we'll adjust that a tiny amount. Right, roof symmetry, we'll call that roof sides soyoids. Okay, now that we've got that done, we now need to make our snow. So the way we will do this is we will make simulation collider body on the roof, simulation collider body on the roof sides. For the roof sides, because it's that one, actually we just put it straight onto that one and that should do the job. We create a new cube which we put up here. Okay, and we make that around about the right width approximately. We do want it to overhang just a little bit. I'll go into top view to see this. Oh, look at that, I got it pretty much right anyway. So just overhang just a little bit, and we'll assume that that's about right. Now, what we do is we give it some segments. The more here, the slower it will be, but the better it will kind of do what we want it to do. So let's start with about that. Like I said, this will be quite slow, but we can maybe bump that up a little bit. Right, okay. Simulation soft body. Now, if we just basically press play, what we get is a nice bit of drapage. Okay, now it's not really quite right. This one didn't work, so what we need to do is put our tag on roof sides and set it to static mesh and collision compound safe shape. Right, restart. One thing I did definitely notice is it's not long enough, so we need to make that quite a bit longer. Right, and hit play. Now see, suddenly I'm not so convinced about my roof idea. So we need to fix this up. So we've got a couple of things going on here. So we've got a, it's not a bad shape. I think maybe what we do need to do is go into our roof sides. We definitely need to make that one considerably thinner. So we're talking like that. And then my side ones, like literally, yeah, something like that. And I'm just going to move that down so it's sitting about level. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Let's cube. That's our snow. So we'll call that roof snow, so we know where we're at. We give it a few more segments like that, and we need to go into here. Go to the soft body, structural. Let's make that maybe about 80. Flexion maybe about 20. Stiffness maybe about 5. Let's just see what that one does. Don't give it any stiffness. Right, we're just going to need a few more frames here as well. 250. It's looking close on the size anyway. Okay, we'll let that run a little bit. Okay, let's have a look. So, that's not too bad. I think maybe it needs to be a little bit thicker. We're going to have to rewind, unfortunately, to do this. And maybe a little bit longer on all counts. Right, and we'll just give it a few more segments. Again, it's going to go slow, but once we've done it and got through it, it's much better than it was. Alright, so it's sliding around. Here's a problem. Grab all three, go to dynamics, go to collision, go to bounce and put that down to about 30, and then friction, put that up to about 150. Alright, then it shouldn't slide around. There we go. And we're just laying it on there. Laying the snow on the roof. Do 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 do. Okay. And we'll pause that there. Right. Okay. So, did I? Oh, I didn't hit the pause. There we go. Okay, now, one thing that I am worried about here is the way it's kind of sagging in on itself, and I think that's to do with my side segments. So I'm going to do it once more, and I'm going to turn on a couple of these in the hope that it just folds around a little bit neater. I'm worried about how much of those are sticking out, so let's just grab that and move that down a little bit. Right, we'll try that. It's all about trial and error. This is going to end up being a long one, but we're having fun, why not? If you've got better things to do, you can always go away and do them. I don't really care. I'm going to carry on. Have a bit of a stretch there. Damn, this seems to be running slowly today. Look at it go. Go on. My eyes can't even keep up with this frame rate. Incredible. Okay. We're nearly there, nearly there, nearly there, nearly there. Perfect. Pause. Okay. So there we go. We now have some snow sitting on our roof. So let's grab this as it is right now. So we'll go roof snow, right click, current state to object, bang, right? And that creates an additional one. Oh, something went wrong. Right, I know exactly what that is that I just did. I do apologize, I'm an idiot. The roof, the snow roof, roof snow, needs to be a editable object. So once you've got it exactly as you want it, you have to click C or press C to make it editable. Then let it run through. Lum-de-doo, lum-de-doo. Yes. Kind of out of things to say this time, really. You know, we've done this bit so many times now, I've kind of used up all my material. Not that you could really call it material. I've got a Stanley knife here, I'll just sit and play with that while we wait. Ow! Alright, I'll put that down again. Right, are we there? We're nearly there. We just went on that little bit. Right, that'll do. Perfect. Right. So now once again we have our snowy roofy thing. Right click, current state to object. Bang! There we go. And it gives us 2 for some reason. So we'll turn off 1. Just delete it. Turn off the tag. There we go. Wonderful, wonderful. Right. So obviously it's a bit smooth, isn't it? It's a bit not really much like snow at the moment. So we need to do a few things. So we're going to use something that we're going to use a hell of a lot in this tutorial, the displacer. Hold down Alt, there we go, it puts it in the center of the roof. Take the roof out of the displacer and put the displacer in the roof. Go to the displacer, go to shading, go to the shader, choose noise, and we kind of have now that. Perfect, that's it, job's done. I'm only joking. Right, so let's choose something else. Something else. Something a bit softer. Maybe something like that. Roof snow. Displacer, I mean object. We can put the height out. We can just bump that up a little bit. Oh, it looks better that way, doesn't it? If we put it that way. Right. This could be alright. It is a bit funky. Right. But check this. So it looks a bit strange like that. However, if we then put that into a hypernode, it's a bit closer. It's maybe a little bit too wobbly, so we'll just put the height down just a little bit. Find about the right area. I'm not sure if that shading, if that was the right one. Might even be well, for some reason I've forgotten exactly which one I used that looked quite nice. Let's try good old-fashioned noise. It's not too bad. Got a bit of a funky edge here. It's a bit too clean, isn't it, that edge? It's all about the tweaking. It's just we only want to just give it a little bit of a wobble, don't we? That's a bit too much of a wobble. Maybe switch off the hypernodes for a minute. You go to polygon mode. UL. This is, I'm literally experimenting now. I don't know if this will work or not. Let's just grab those 3. Go mesh. Create bevel. We'll just pull those out a bit. Maximum angle, make that 91, and that should include the corner. And we can sort of put that out a little bit and maybe close that down. Oh, look at that. What's it done? Whoa! Turn off the hypernodes while we play, I think. I've done something wrong here. I need to undo a few. Hang on. Right, there we go. So, bevel it out. Whoosh. We've got some extra strangeness going on here. I'm not sure what that is all about. Just try that. Okay. Okay. Got some weird bits there. That's not too bad. Let's carry on and we'll see where we end up. Right. If we have to tweak it a bit more, we will. Next. Chimney. Chimney. So, grab a cube. Let's go back to object mode and we'll shrink that right down. Shrink that right in. Make it not quite so tall. Move it up. Move it forward. And move it along. Okay. Move it down. Grab a copy of that. Press T, scale, and we'll just scale it up a little bit and go up there. And put that on the top. This, last time, I just literally made into... I did the same thing, basically. I stuck a displacer on there. Let's PSR it out. And then you put that into a hypernerve. And there we go, we've got that kind of thing going on there, which we can probably do with making maybe a little bit longer, a little bit wider. Cool. Okay. Next, we need to just create the window and the door. So let's just get some naming. Chimney top. Chimney roof snow. There we go. If we keep everything labelled, we know what we're doing. Right. Door. So let's use the front logs, the cutout for, let's start with the door. And we will make a copy of that cube. And that's going to be our door, so we'll just switch that off for the moment. But we're going to use it. Let's just have an S. We'll automatically zoom you in on the item selected. So that's obviously the right width, but I want to make it a little bit smaller than that. Now, obviously, our roof has got a lot of geometry in it, so I'm just going to turn off the hypernerves for the roof and for the snow, and then that way it moves quicker while we're dealing with it. So I'm just going to bring the bottom in just a little bit. And the side, there we go. I want to make a door frame, you see. Cool, okay, so I want to next create a spline that is a rectangle. I've held down Alt so that it appears in exactly the same point as that cube, which is what I want. I'm going to change the plane to ZY, and I want it to have the same dimensions as that cube. So, not the X, it's only the Y and the Z that we're interested. So we'll grab the Y and we'll put that into width. That was silly. We'll put that into height. There we go. And then we'll grab the Z and we'll put that into width. And there you go. We now have a spline the same shape as that door there. Although I want to put it maybe one bigger on both. And then we'll create a duplicate, which we put right to the edge of the logs. Put this rectangle into a connect. Put this rectangle into a connect. And then we can use the extrude. Let's just turn off that door so we can see what's going on. So that's now basically extruding that from that. Make the movement so it's on that plane there. Okay, it doesn't matter about this down here because this is going to be hidden by the floor. And then we'll just move that whole extrude back a little bit, and bang, there we go. We have our doorway. We turn our cube back on. That's our door, which we can just pull in just a little bit. There we go. Okay, cool. And we'll label that door. Label that door frame. Right. let's see. We need to do the same thing now with the window. So we'll just make a copy of that for now, and we'll hide it. Create a rectangle, holding down Alt. Take the cube out of the rectangle. Make the rectangle on the ZY plane. We need those two coordinates. So we'll have the Y, which we put in the height. Is that right? That looks right. Yep. And we'll have the Z, which we put in the width. There we go. That's in the wrong place in space, but we'll just move that forward like that, and make a copy, and just press T and just shrink it in a little bit. That's going to make our window frame. Same thing, put them into a connect object, put the connect object into an extrude NURBS, get the movement in the right direction, which is going to be to about there. And now we can get rid of this cube. We're going to actually use a plane. Hold on, Alt, bang. Take the extrude out of the plane. There we go. Put the plane onto the correct plane. And then we'll just shrink that down till it's about the right fit. And move it forward just a little. There we go. Okay, cool. And there we have it. That's our hut done. Let's just turn on ambient occlusion, and we can kind of get an idea. Cool. Our roof, obviously we've got that switched off, so it's not quite right, but there we go. It's looking along the correct lines. Wonderful. Right. Let's now think what we're going to do next. We need to create the floor. Now the floor I actually did it using a landscape, which I then scaled right up like so, and then in the landscape settings you put the size of the height right down, and that kind of levels it out a little bit. So we just want a little bit of knobbliness, and then I'm just going to move that over a little bit, something like that, so that we've got a bit of movement going on. I think I actually just rotated it as well. Rotate the landscape just a touch that way, just to keep it so it's as if it's kind of in snow. And then I used the deformer again. Let's just name these, sorry, I had forgotten that. Window frame. The deformer that we used for these two, so the displacer, put that there, zero it out, and then maybe see if we can, it gives us the ability to change that up a little bit. And it's probably a good idea to again put the landscape into a hyper NURBS to keep it nice, but obviously that's just going to kill you, that's going to hit your render time, so just switch that off for the minute. And then the way I did it was I created a copy of the landscape. Let's just go into the top view here, and I actually then put this one, I rotated it around a bit, made it sit a lot higher. Okay, and then I moved it out to the back there. That's gone right down. We need to put that right up. There we go. Something like this. So sort of move it right out of the way. Maybe scale that up a little bit. And we'll have another one which we'll put over here, which we can turn all the way around so it looks different. Maybe put it here and scale it up a bit more. Boom, boom. And then see what that gives you is it gives you quite an interesting looking parallax between the background and the and your cabin. So then when you sit that in the right position about where you want it, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Ground. And then I think I created a snowman just by simply facing a sphere with another sphere on top, shrink that down, and then I did the same trick again, displacer, zero it out. Look at him, he's a crazy snowman. Okay, grab those two and we'll put that height. I mean, it was only supposed to be subtle, it just gives it a little bit of just to give it a little bit of sort of wobbliness. Again, stick them in a hypernerves. Cool. Okay, so we're now pretty close. So we'll say snowman head. Snowman head. Okay, now what we can do with the hypernerbs in order to keep things going quickly, because obviously everything is starting to get slowed down, because I actually want to put that one into a hypernerbs as well. But what we will do is go to the hypernerbs. This is your subdivision based on what you're seeing in the editor, and then this is what you'll see in the final render. So we can actually put that one, don't put that to 20, there we go, put that one to 1. We can actually put that to 0 in here, and the same with the ground one, we can put that one to 0. We'll leave that on. The chimney top we could put maybe to 1 and get away with that. The roof, there we go. And then what that will do for us is keep it running all nice and fast in here, but then when you do your final render it will look pretty. But don't confuse your final render with just hitting the render button. That's still going to look naff. The good one is if you do it at this point, it'll have to think about it a bit more, obviously. Doobie doobie doo. There it goes. But it's a bit closer, right? If you want to speed that up, just change those from 3 to 2, which you probably is fine. 2, there we go. Right, now, where are we? Texturing next, and lighting, I guess. So, this is one of the few ones where I don't actually use in video for the final one, but I do use it to help me set up, because otherwise it's very difficult to set up if you set up the lighting how you want this scene, the render time will be really slow, whereas at least just stick it in something like in video and it'll be nice and fast just to get a preview of what you're looking at. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take my cabin, which should be all of that, and I'm going to press Ctrl X. That gets rid of it, but it's fine. What we do is go File, New, Paste. There we go. That's now sitting in exactly the right position for the scene when we go back to it. Let me just now put that into InVideo Pro. Obviously you don't have to do this bit. If you don't have InVideo or you don't want InVideo, then all you have to do is just set up some kind of lighting area and start texturing and seeing what looks good. But this just enables me to have a little play with my textures quickly. So let's start with, we're going to create the snow. So color, I wanted a little bit whiter. Luminance, obviously snow does produce quite a bit of reflection, and sort of it reflects light very well, so we'll give it maybe a little bit of luminance, probably about 3. The final image I do use global illumination, so this will make an effect here. Reflection, it is quite reflective, but we'll put it to maybe about 15 with a Fresnel, which we'll put to about 10, and then bump. Texture noise, and the one I think I will use is going to be Luca. Yeah, Luca. And I'm going to put the scale this one right down to about 40. And I'm going to make that a kind of light grey. There we go. Okay, and then now on the bump I'm going to do layer, go into the layer, and we're going to add another shader noise and set that to, I can't remember which one it is now. Which one was it? There was one that was very good. Perhaps electric, that's the one I'm looking for. And I think I want to put this up, so just ramp the scale of that one up a bit. There we go, that's looking pretty cool. And we go back to the layer and set that to multiply. There we go. Now I think that's pretty much what I did for the snow, so we put that on there and we'll put that on there. Press go. So yep, that's looking about right. We've got some issues here still though. So we do maybe want to look at snow roof displacer. Let's grab these. So let's set noise. Gotta find. It's quite spooky, isn't it, the way it does that? I mean, because that's not right. I wonder if my roof, I need to make just a touch bigger. There we go. And just turn the displacement down again a little bit. Get that chimney one, turn that one down a little bit. Let's just have a look at that, see if that's any better. Oh, that's a little bit better, look. Cool. It's all about the tweaking. I wonder if that's overhanging a little bit too much on that side now, so let's just grab the, which one is it? It's the blue handle, and just move that in just a touch. There we go. Cool. Okay, enough tweaking. So that's our snow done. The next one is the logs. Nice easy way to do this. If you go to new shader and choose Banzai, this one is actually kind of like a nice wooden preset. So we just maybe make it a little bit lighter. Something like that, roughness, maybe not quite so rough. Okay, and we apply that to, let's start with the front logs. We'll put it on the actual log itself first. Alright, now it's sideways, it's kind of, the grain's going up, which we don't really want, we want the grain to go along. So let's change the projection to flat. We'll select the texture tool there, and then what we can do is, let's just double check that is still the same. Yep, so what we need to do is grab that texture and hold down shift and move it 90 degrees. There we go. That's great, and we'll make a copy of that on to our cutouts, which then puts the texture on those edges there, which is fine. The backlog will have the same. Obviously we can't see them, but the side logs the same. And then just check that they are going quite right. Right, so the same problem there on the side logs, so we grab that, move it 90 degrees. Didn't work. Is this something to do with, why was this? I remember this. Did I actually do it? Let me just check. Am I just going nuts? Ah, there we go. Okay, just keep turning it till you find the right way. I thought I did do it, but perhaps I didn't. Okay. Now I'm not completely happy with that. The scale I think is a bit too big, so maybe make the ring scale 50%. Let's create an interactive render region. Just put that there. That's a little bit better. So, grain scale, put that down just a little bit. Okay, and speculars, I'm just going to put that one down to about 3. Put that one down to about 6. Just going to turn those down a little bit. There we go, not so shiny. Roughness, we can maybe put that back up a little bit. There we go. Okay, that's cool, that's looking good. Turn off the interactive render region. Okay, so now I just need to get something on the door. So the door, okay, bang, let's just check. For now that'll do. Right, the door does need a doorknob though, because otherwise you can't get in. So let's create a sphere inside of the door, take the door back out of the sphere, shrink the sphere right down. Oh, missed. Let's come out of the texture shaping. There we go. Bang, 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 bang. Bring that right down. Let's go zoom in, zoom out. Bom, bom. Okay, I've lost my sphere. There it is. Okay, we'll just create a simple texture with blackness on it for that. Next to no specular, there we go. And we create another texture. Just going to make it brown. I don't want it to be too kind of detailed. I just want a brown, literally like that, just to go on our door frame and window frame. Okay, our window, I want this to be a source of light, so I'm actually going to turn off color, turn on luminance, and in the luminance I'm going to set a gradient, which is going to be something like a yellow at one end and an orange at the other. Let's get those a little bit. There we go. Put that onto the window. Now I'm thinking that it's kind of the wrong way up if that's the way it's actually going to render out. See, so let's go back into our texture editing tool, grab that window, make sure the projection is flat, and then that should mess it up. Stick with UV mapping, easiest way, window, rotate, normal mode, turn it out the other way. Job's done. That's the easiest way to do that. Cool, okay. And then because obviously that's done with global illumination, we can ramp that up to about 400 or something. And we'll tweak that and come to that bit later. Okay, and then there's one final bit, and that is our chimney thing here. And for that we're just going to create a new texture. In the color, we're going to go texture, load image, and then I'm going to select maybe bricks. This is just a texture of some bricks. Doesn't really need a lot in the way of detail. We'll just dump that on there. And there we go, we have some bricks on our chimney. Our snow's looking pretty cool actually. Okay, so let's just zoom out, we'll have a quick look. That's our little log cabin. Perfect. So now that we've done that, we just need to grab everything, obviously except in video. We don't want that in the scene. So let's grab everything, Alt-G, and we'll call it cabin. Control-X to cut it, or you can just copy it, it doesn't matter. Go back to our scene, bang, paste, there it is, and it's done and textured. Finally, we just need to put our snow texture on our snowman, our landscapes. There we go. One last bit to do, which is the background. And the way I did this was I added not a floor, I added a background. Hey, on that background I create a texture, which I did I think I did as, I'm going to try, color, this is it, gradient, and I did kind of a light blue at one end and then a much darker blue at the other, because if you look at a night sky, towards the bottom is where there's leakage from the sun towards the horizon, and then it goes up and gets darker. So let's put that on the background. Let's just check that that's kind of what we wanted. Yeah, I mean, it's not quite as dark as I'd quite like, actually. Okay, cool. And then the final touch to that one is on the color. Make it a layer. Go into the layer and add an shader, effects, surfaces, Starfield, that was the one, and make that a screen. I think was it screen? Yes. And now we have stars. Now maybe we don't want it quite so much as that, so maybe just drop that down. There we go. We now have some stars up there. Cool. Okay. Next, final bit, I think nearly, is we've put some lighting in here. So what we'll do is we'll have some sunlight. And I'm going to go into the sunlight settings and change it so it doesn't set the color. You can do this all by time, but I just found this so much easier, just do it myself. And then go general and choose maybe like a bit of a blue color, something like that. And by default, we just have a quick look. It's starting to look pretty groovy. If you want to move the sun, again, the easiest way I found is just put it into a null and move the null. I just wanted to angle that shadow. I wanted it coming that way a little bit. There we go. Cool. See, I want the shadows coming across. I don't want the shadows to disappear, but I want a little bit of light from this side, so I'm just going to add a real quick area light. I'm just going to put that up here. Something like that, and I'm going to turn that right down to about 10. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, that's not too bad. Maybe move the light away a little bit. I'm now going to put it to, if you've got Cinema 4D 13, was it the physical render came in? And up, you can use the physical. If not, just use global illumination. And in the physical renderer, I'm going to just turn on indirect illumination and put it to progressive. And let's just have a quick look and see how that's looking now. Because we should get some nice glowing off this window on the floor, which is nice. Yeah, that's looking pretty groovy. Very Christmassy. There you go. Like I say, there's now a number of different things you can do just to make that look a little bit cooler and add some nice details to it and some things to it and stuff. But for just putting it together quickly, I think that looks pretty groovy. Let's finish off here with setting it to a slightly higher resolution, so something like this, and move our camera. Okay, and let's set that. Oh, we have to actually create a camera, that's right, because we're using the physical render. We need an actual physical camera. Physical, I like to do this actually. If we put that down to about 1.2 and put the camera's focal point as the cabin, and then just hop back into here, into physical, and turn on depth of field. There we go, and we'll set this rendering, and I'll speed it up. Okay, so that's done 11 passes, been running for about 4 minutes or so. It's not too bad. For now, this will do. So let's just grab a snip of that, and I will just finish off by just taking that into Photoshop. Create a new document. If we stop this as well, it'll stop my machine from chugging away. So stop. There we go. And paste that in there. So just a couple of little bits just to make it nicer. So we'll do a curves adjustment, which will give a standard slight S curve too, just to punch the contrasts, and maybe go to the blue and add obviously a little bit of that, suck out a little bit of the green, and suck out a little bit of the red. There we go. And the one thing I would quite like to do is add a hue and saturation, and just pull some of that colour out again, because obviously it is night time. Ooh, look, disco. Sorry. There we go. Something like that. It's only subtle, but it's just a little something just to make it look interesting. And then finally, if you wanted to do, you could do a new gradient tool, white to black, boom, boom, something like that. Make it radial, and then make that a multiplied layer, and turn the opacity right down. And it just gives you a little bit of a vignette around the edge. I don't know, something like that maybe. Sometimes I'll just grab a brush and just sort of go over it a little bit like that. And now it looks like it's kind of been wiped off a window. There we go. Anyway, enough, because this is going on too long. I'm just sort of messing around now. There you go. Have fun. Enjoy. Nothing groundbreaking, but you know, it's something for Christmas. If you do fancy joining in, like I say, I'd love to see what you come up with. I'd love to see if you add some of your own things to it. Yeah, I don't know. Have a play, have some fun. Yeah, so that's it. I'll just finish up. Just don't forget, have a little visit at the website, ratemyfuneral.com, and go and put some comments on there. I get a lot of comments and stuff. There's some hysterical things. You can come and join in with the hysterical things. A lot of people also have complained to me about the loudness of the intro. I don't know. Just turn your volume down? I don't know. It's been the same every time. Why suddenly is it so much louder? I don't know. I use the same one. I'll try and turn it down just a little on this one. But you've probably turned off anyway because it was already too loud. I don't know. You might not be here. If you're even still listening to any of this or watching any of this, God bless you, because you've done better than me. I would have left ages ago, and I'm hosting it. So I think that'll do. Bye.